Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Lammersville Board of Education to order at 7 o'clock. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, so please silence your cell phones at this time. And if I could call Imelda Kareem, Vice Principal from Wickland, forward to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, everyone. So Bailey Burgess, ASB President at Wickland Elementary, will be leading us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening, President Palmbo, Board Trustee members, and Superintendent Dr. Nicholas.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am here to present to you all the wonderful things that are happening at Wickland Elementary. So let's begin. So at Wickland Elementary, we are heroes. That's what we live by. So what we did with this presentation is we got some student feedback to let board members know and also the public know what it means to be a hero at Wickland.
Hi, I'm Bailey, ASB President, and what it means to be a hero is to be a good student, try your best, and be responsible.
So this is our mantra. So heroes, we are honest, encouraging, respectful, optimistic, eager to learn, and safety first. So this is what kids live by, and these are our expectations for every day at Wickland. Now, what we have is our Pbis store. And so heroes is a component of the Pbis framework. And so when kids are showing hero characteristics, they are rewarded with getting Pbis cash that they get to spend at the store. And this is an example of what one of those cash bills looks like. And these are the items that they can buy at the store. So they can buy snacks, they can buy things they can hang on their backpacks. We actually have a student who is saving up for the Hover Star. He told me today, he's Mrs. Kareem, I have saved up 200 Heroes cash. I'm like, great, you have $75 to go. So he was very excited for that. So we're constantly rewarding students positively at Wickland. Here's a student who is going to give us a little more information about the Pbis store.
I like the Pbis store because we can buy things like stickers, stuffed animals, candy, snacks, just for being a good person.
Just for being a good person. I love that. This is another student who is going to talk a little bit more about our Pbis store.
I went to the Pbis store and I saved up $6 and bought 3 cool stickers for my water bottle.
So we have the Pbis store weekly open on Fridays. Students can visit the store during their recess. They bring their cash with them and they really enjoy it. So in addition to the Pbis store, we also have the Pbis Room. And this is weekly every Friday as well. So students who go to the Pbis Room have been given a golden ticket by their teachers. And what the Pbis Room is a super cool room with all kinds of games that they can play that normally they're not used to playing in a school setting or in a classroom. So we have arcade games, foosball, we have air hockey. And it's really neat to see kids having fun, especially middle school, all having fun, enjoying playing these games. We also have arcade games, board games, Nintendo Switch is really popular as well. So in addition to teachers choosing students to get access to this room weekly, we also reward students who have received honor or certificates at our assemblies. So they also get access, we call it the VIP PBIS room, to access this room with their friends. And this is a student who talks about the PBIS room.
I'm Shravya. I'm in the 7th grade, and I love getting a golden ticket because I can play in the PBIS room. We have really fun games and snacks, and I love playing air hockey.
So what do our students like about PBIS? We've been implementing it this year fully for the first year here at Wickland. And so we're really seeing how students are responding to the positive interactions that they're having throughout the day. And truly, it has positively impacted the culture at our school.
I really like the Wickland Heroes system overall because I feel like it encourages students to do better in like being a good person or even academics.
So I'd like to thank you for your time. I'd like to thank WSF Foundation for contributing to our PBIS room. And I'd also like to thank the board for your continuous support in PBIS implementation throughout the district. And any questions?
I do. So
right
when
in.
somebody gets the golden ticket,
Yes.
how long does that mean they get to spend in the PBIS room?
So they get to spend their morning recess and their lunch recess in the PBIS room.
If they get a golden ticket.
Yes,
So
if
it's
they
good
get
for 1 day recess admission.
yes, exactly.
Right.
So they get about 40 minutes in the PBIS room. Yeah.
Does it get, is there like a limit to how many students you can have in there at a time? Does it get overcrowded? I mean, that would be good that so many kids are getting golden tickets and the opportunity to play.
Yes, you know, it doesn't get overcrowded during the golden ticket on Friday days. It doesn't. And even when we rewarded our assembly certificate winners, it didn't get crowded at all. And it was really nice to see students interacting with each other during board games, on video games. It was really nice to see that positive interaction when, you know, typically they're on a screen or looking at their phone a lot. So it's really great on seeing how it builds social skills with kids as well. Yeah.
It's a great room. I got to see it on my site visit, and I wish I knew how I could earn a golden ticket because it is really great.
Well, teachers give out golden tickets to students who are displaying hero characteristic traits. They could be most improved. They could have academic achievement. So they're rewarding kids with behavior or academics. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here, Bailey.
Roll call, please.
Lisa Boulay,
Here.
Holland Clements,
Here.
Anita Daniel,
Here.
Stephanie Olson,
Here.
David Pombo,
Here.
Anita Jithendra.
Here.
Approval and/or corrections to the agenda.
There are none. Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Olson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, recognition. Staff report.
Yes, this evening we were going to recognize the tennis team, the girls' tennis team, and Coach Sue, who won the Western Athletic Conference League title. However, today they topped that. And so we will postpone this till the next board meeting because they won the section championship, the first section championship, I believe, in high school history. And so it is quite an, and they beat the perennial powerhouse Placer, is it Placerville or Placer? Placer team. So it is an excellent accomplishment, and also, which we'll say again at the next time, we believe it was about 10 days ago that Coach Sue was named Section Coach of the Year as well. So the tennis team is on the map, and as is Mountain House High School Athletics, and congratulations to all, and we'll celebrate them in person in December.
Very nice. Moving on to item 5, committee reports. District Advisory Committee, nothing to report. District English Language Committee, Trustee Daniel.
So we had our DLAC committee meeting on October 21st, and we had welcome and introductions, and Dr. Busito addressed a few questions about the identification of English learners and the process related to reclassification. Then we had celebrations where we had a high number of students who met all reclassification criteria. And the sites are actually enjoying a return to normalcy with the return of sports and student assemblies and academic extracurricular activities and more. It was followed up by Dr. Busito giving us data snapshot about the fall map reading and math data for English learners in 3rd grade through 8th grade. And lastly, we had, not lastly, there was another agenda where we had administrators from each site read the names of the recently reclassified students from their respective sites, and all those students will be receiving certificates at their school sites. And lastly, we had the LCAP review, and Dr. Busito reviewed all the LCAP goals. So that was our DLAC meeting on October 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. The Education Committee, we met last week, I think, and had a presentation on the GATE program by GATE coordinator Kristen Aquinto. She gave a great overview of the program, and her passion and enthusiasm made the presentation very engaging. Item D, Facilities Committee, Trustee Clements.
Yes, Mr. President, the Facilities Committee met on November 4th. During our meeting, we reviewed the status of indoor facility rentals and learned that the process has gone fairly smoothly thus far. We also discussed the status of the project to work with the CSD to make our tennis courts available to the public under its supervision, and the related agreement is in the agenda of this evening's meeting for board consideration. We also discussed possible options for placing a cricket patch within the district grounds, and the committee asked staff for a little bit more information on possible locations, so there is more to follow on that subject. District staff also updated the committee on how things are going with fields and grounds maintenance. And finally, if the board will recall, the installation of bottle filling stations on the various campuses had been approved previously, but the project was shelved during COVID. District staff updated the committee on the current costs and other considerations for moving forward with this project. The next facility committee meeting is scheduled for February 3rd at 6:30 p.m. here in the LUSD boardroom, and it is currently scheduled to be a live meeting.
Thank you. Policy Committee, Trustee Clements.
The latest batch of policies has been received by the Policy Committee and is under review with the goal of submitting to the board for a first reading during our board meeting on January 19th, 2022.
Thank you. Item F is Safety Committee, and our next meeting is December 15th. The Wellness Committee, our next meeting is December 8th. Moving on to item 6, Governing Board Reports. Madam Student Trustee.
Hello, fellow board members and community members. It's great to finally be back. Over the past 2 months, I've been busy with the Associated Student Body and the community here at Mountain House, planning and pulling off several successful events, including our annual Homecoming Parade and Dance in September, Mountain House High's first Haunted House of Horrors and drive-in movie, which was 2 weeks ago, and multiple spirit weeks along with themed football games throughout the past 2 months. It has been a great spirited fall semester so far, and we hope that this level of community engagement continues as we do have many more plans for the future. In terms of ways that we can improve that we've discovered over the last 2 months, students did raise some concerns regarding the communication line between administration and the students. Following the bomb threat incident that occurred at the high school, students felt in the dark or unknown about many things. Fortunately, many students did say that the stable talks that were held in the office were helpful, and I was wondering if maybe something like that could become a regular occurrence. In addition, it has also been brought to my attention that the high school students aren't allowed to leave campus during their flexes or during their free periods anymore. Some students do have a flex during fourth period, which is right before lunch, so they were wondering if this rule could be altered for them as they will be leaving during lunch anyway. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you. Trustee Clements.
On Saturday, November 6th, I had the pleasure of judging at the Mountain House High School's Debate and Forensics Tournament. I had actually intended to see the play that afternoon as well, but when I learned that some of the afternoon rounds at the tournament would have to be canceled if enough judges didn't stay and volunteer to judge, I decided I should stay and help out with that. I was very disappointed to miss the play last weekend. I wanted to see it. I also managed to arrange brief visits to Cordis Elementary, Mountain House High School, and Bethany Elementary, and I wanted to thank the staff for their assistance during these visits. These visits were unannounced, and I did have the opportunity to enjoy the lunchtime meals during those visits, and all 3 of the meals I had were very good. End of my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Trustee Olson.
On October 29th, I attended the Cuesta Trunk or Treat and the Haunted House put on by the 8th grade class. And I also got a sneak peek at the dance. And it was great to see the students out and about doing fun activities. And the Haunted House was excellent. It scared me, and I went through the kid version. So, and also on October 22nd and 29th, I attended the home football games, where the football team won an exciting game against Ceres, and then they beat the league rival Lathrop to win the battle of the paddle. So they have the paddle back in our possession, which is great. And it was also senior night for the band and for the football team, and kind of a quasi night for cheer and dance. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Principal Pbis since he's here, because cheer and dance was supposed to also perform at halftime, but due to the time it took to do the band performance and all the senior time ran out. And with football, that you can't extend the time, or else there's a penalty to the team. And he came out, he recognized right away that the dance and the cheerleaders were upset and sad that they couldn't perform, and he arranged for them to perform at the end of the game. And I think it was great for everybody. I think it was exciting for everyone, and it's great to see our students being able to shine like that. On Saturday, November 6th, I judged the debate tournament with 3 of our trustees, and it was really great to be back in a debate environment. I got Lincoln Douglas, and that was what I competed in. I'm glad I don't compete against the students that we have competing today. I also attended on October 23rd at Central Park, and again on October 30th at Central Park. I attended the Diwali celebration and had excellent food, excellent entertainment, and it was just really joyous. And I'm grateful for being invited to those celebrations and being able to attend along with Trustees Pombo and Daniel. And also on November 7th, and I'm sorry, this is out of order. I was writing out of memory. I attended the Central Valley Tennis Team Series event as their guest of honor and presented awards to the winning teams. I watched the finals doubles match, and there was some really excellent tennis played. I also attended on October 31st the USTA Next Generation event at the high school tennis courts, where we, myself along with Principal Fulbert, Trustee Daniel, and St. Tavi Vinod, we were able to present some certificates to the youth that participate in the Net Generation. And on that day also I had the privilege of judging the costume parade that is hosted by Mountain House Flag Football. And I believe that is and I attended the play on November 7th, and it was an excellent play. My daughter saw it twice because it was so good. So congratulations to our drama program. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Boulay.
Thank you, Mr. Pombo. I do want to thank my fellow board members who joined me on this past Saturday judging the Mountain House speech and debate competition that was hosted at our high school. This is an activity that really cannot happen without volunteers, and it takes a lot of volunteers. So I'm grateful to my fellow board members, parents of the students who participate, community members were there that don't even have students in speech and debate, and we had a number of our alumni return to support the program and judge for our students. Congratulations also to the coach, who's doing a great job, and I'm excited to have her running speech and debate. Last Tuesday, I spent a good part of the day at Mountain House High School, and I want to thank Mr. Faubert for taking me around and letting me shadow you while you made visits to the classrooms. I really saw some great lessons, some great assessments happening. I was most excited about those CTE classrooms and just wanted to go around and touching everything and playing with everything and getting involved in the classes. So I'm really excited for our students because I think that's a great opportunity. I do think that there's one area in improvement that we can, or one area of the high school that has potential that I think we're not fully using, and that's our learning commons. It's such an amazing space with thousands of reference materials, both digitally and physically. And I think that if we had a full-time librarian, we could implement more programs that would really engage the students and really engage the teachers as well. So again, I think it's just an area for potential growth that I see. This past Sunday, I attended the Midsummer Night's Dream play at the high school, and I have to agree with Trustee Olson. It was just a great production, and I think it was extremely creative how it had an 80s twist. It's something I've never seen before, never heard before. Great music, great choreography, and really just a fun afternoon. And this past Monday, I attended the DARE graduation ceremony at Cuesta. I was honored to be a part of the program as these fifth graders pledged to be alcohol and drug free and to refrain from smoking and bullying. And after taking a year off because of the pandemic and not having DARE, I think that it's great to see this program back in our district, and I'm so glad that we support this curriculum. And finally, I have watched in the last few weeks a lot of tennis, a lot of Lady Mustang tennis, and really excited for those girls and for Coach Sue. I saw the singles championship, which Mountain House won. I saw the doubles championship, which Mountain House won. And I was at their sectional competition this afternoon. So they did a great job. So kudos to our tennis team and our tennis players.
You wouldn't happen to recall what the final score was? It would have been like it's 12 matches, so was it?
It was 9-0.
9-0.
Yeah,
Oh.
9 matches. So today was 9-0.
It was a sweep.
Yeah, it was. There were a couple matches that went 3 sets, but I think most of the other ones we succeeded with 2 matches.
I believe in the old school they would call that a drubbing.
Drubbing.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Daniel.
Thank you, President Pombo. So on October 21st, I attended the DLAC meeting, and then on October 29th, I enjoyed a fleet of Halloween parades. So I started with Lammersville Elementary at 8:30 a.m., attended the Halloween parade there. Then I went to the Hanson Elementary at 12:45 and also accompanied the Halloween parade there. Then I was at 4:15. I just have those times because I went time-wise. At 4:15, I was honored to be the judge at the trunk or treat at Cuesta Elementary, and all of them look great. So it was such a difficult job to do, but it was fun. Then I attended the trunk or treat at Altamont Elementary at 5:30 p.m. And then lastly, I went to Hanson Elementary again for the trunk or treat. I was invited by the PTA to attend that. So I had a wonderful Halloween, I would say, but each school had a flavor of its own. and I was dressed up as the Minnie Mouse. And I have to say a big thank you to all the staff for, for taking all that extra effort to actually get creative with our costumes, because that brought in a lot of energy to the students. After a long time we were doing Halloween, so everybody was happy, and that it was a lot of fun. So I thoroughly enjoyed the day, attending so many Halloweens. Yep. And then let me move on to the next. Yeah, on November 4th, I was privileged to be one of the judges at the LUSD District Spelling Bee. And congratulations to all the participants and also the top 4 winners of each category. It was very well organized. So kudos to the assistant superintendents who were there, all the principals and VPs for giving their time and making it a wonderful event. I also want to take this opportunity to thank my fellow trustees for giving me the opportunity to represent you there. Thank you so much. Then on October 6th, I did attend I wanted to go and see the drama, so I went for the 8 p.m. show, and it was definitely lovely, as how my fellow trustees mentioned. They actually brought the story to life. And this was the first time I actually attended, I happened to see a drama at our high school. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved the singing. It was like a musical, right? So it was awesome to watch. And thanks for all the volunteers, the cast, crew, everybody. I could see everyone's effort right there. Then this week I had my lunch on November 8th. I had my lunch at Altamont. It was teriyaki chicken and broccoli with rice, my favorite. I did still go for the low-fat milk, and I had a fortune cookie. So I want to give kudos to our noon duties. Atsuko, Yuki, Stalinda, Dixon, Sandhya Gautam, Lizette, Enrique, and our kitchen staff of Altamont, Ashley Daniker, Daniel Hibbard, Paula Renshaw, and Sunita Sharma for all their efforts. I could see, and all the custodians too. The kids thoroughly enjoyed the food. I was able to see all their bowls empty. And then on November 9th, I ate lunch at Bethany. And that day I was accompanied also by the surprise visitor, our trustee Clemens. So it was nice to have lunch with you, trustee. And we had warm mashed potatoes with chicken bites and corn. And we had a strawberry dessert along with nice frozen, no, I won't say frozen, fresh pineapple. And it was just delicious. And the staff and the noon duty supervisors and the custodians, I can say that they're really, really working hard to make sure that our kids get the best. So I would like to also give a shout out to our Bethany noon duty supervisors, who are Virginia Tandock, Pumpkin Moore, Mina Young, Austin Spivey, Risila Pasco, our food service team, Megan Tessie, Eliane Kwok, Elizabeth Abatila, Julie Lam. Apologize, sorry if I mispronounced your name, but thank you so much for your efforts. So along with this, I just want to thank every noon duty supervisor and custodian and food service team out there, and also Bernie Hill, who's leading the team. Thank you so much. On November 8th, I also attended the DARE graduation at Cuesta along with Preston Pombo and Trustee Boulay. It was a lovely program, as Trustee Boulay mentioned. It was really nice to see all the kids happy and feel proud about their graduation. They felt like they were actually being graduated at high school. So it was really nice to see their joy and also the joy of their parents. On November 10th, yeah, that's today, I attended the water polo banquet. It's still going on, I'm not sure, but I did happen to meet Principal Pbis, and then also our Dr. Busuttil there. So it was fun to see. It was actually lovely to see the pool lights. The place looks great, and we actually had the banquet at the pool. So it was just great to be there. Apart from these, I also had the opportunity, along with Trustee Olson and President Pombo, to attend the Diwali Events on 23rd, that's October 23rd and 30th. They were just amazing. It's, again, Diwali is one of the most enjoyable and fun event from India, so it felt like home to be there, enjoying and eating all the yummy food and all those things. So on October 31st morning, I attended the kids' Halloween parade at Hanson Elementary Kids Play Area, which was organized by Emmett Sports and Recreation Club. It was nice to see the kids enjoy, and there was a 360-degree photography which was going on. It was just so cool to see technology evolve that, there was no clicking, it just swiped around. So that was so cool to see. And on October 31st evening, I attended the USDA event, which was hosted by MHSC, along with Trustee Olson, Principal Pbis, and Sandvi. And Trustee Olson and I got a chance to play with a new toy there. We actually saw, and so did our principal too. There was a life-size tennis racket, so we all, kind of posed around it and held it as if we were the, what do you call, the masters of the universe, kind of. So it was fun, and it was nice to see a lot of our youth participating at the tennis event. And so thanks to all the organizers, Dinesh Kumar, and all the volunteers for giving us an opportunity to be there to witness the kids play, and also enabling us to award them. I think I'm done. So thank you so much, President.
Thank you. On October 22nd, I attended the Mustang football game versus series. The Mustangs won that game 21-20, which is a bit of a sore spot because although we beat series head-to-head and had a better league record and a better league sitting than they had at the end of the season, they went to the playoffs and we did not, which is unfortunate. On October 23rd and October 30th, I attended, as was mentioned earlier, the Diwali Celebrations, which I enjoyed very much, seeing the culture represented, and the clothing and the food and everything was quite enjoyable. On October 23rd, I attended the Mountain House Band Competition. The Mountain House Marching Band placed first in high music, high visual, high general effect, high percussion, and high auxiliary, which is a clean sweep of the awards that they were eligible for that evening. Very proud of our Mustang Marching Band. On October 29th, I attended the Mustang football game, and the Mustangs won 28-13 versus Lathrop, which, as was mentioned earlier, we came home with the paddle. On the November 2nd, I visited Hanson School, and Principal Pacheco hosted me. On the 2nd, I also attended the Education Committee meeting that I mentioned earlier. On the 4th, I attended a site visit at Wickland Elementary and was hosted by Principal Mann. On the 5th, I went to the Midsummer's Night Dream play at the high school, which was very enjoyable. On the 6th, I helped judge the speech and debate competition at the high school. A lot of sharp kids out there. On the 8th, I attended the Cuesta Dare ceremony. On the 9th, I did a site visit with Principal Duran at Lammersville Elementary. And earlier today, I did a site visit at Altamont with Principal Bogle. And as is always the case with my site visits, I witnessed teachers doing a good job teaching and kids learning. And these days, I also witnessed mask wearing and hand sanitation and that sort of thing. And as I always do, I had lunch at each cafeteria during my visit, and I thoroughly enjoyed the lunches, and that is the end of my report. Item 7, receiving of public comments. The board shall give members of the public an opportunity to address the board either before or during the board's consideration of each agenda item. At a time so designated on the agenda, members of the public also may bring forward board matters that are not listed on the agenda of a regular meeting. The board may refer such a matter to the superintendent or designee or take it under advisement, but shall not take action at that time. The board may place the matter on the agenda of a subsequent meeting for discussion or action. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board shall limit total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. Do we have any public comments this evening?
We have no blue cards.
Thank you. Seeing none, we will move on to item 8, consent items for consideration. Governing board meeting minutes, contracts under $50,000. Stockton Education Center, $42,200. National Center for Executive Leadership, $31,000. Presence Learning, $10,000. Ratification of warrant lists for October 2021. Ratification of 2021-2022 new hires. Ratification of resignations. Updated fundraisers for the 2020-22 year. Approval of high school graduation, reduction of graduation requirements petitions. Ratification of high school sponsored overnight trips. Is there anything that any board member would like to pull or have further discussion on? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve consent items.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Boulay and seconded by Trustee Daniel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And if
President Pombo, I think you forgot the student preferential.
I did. Student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. And thank you for reminding me. And now if Trustee Clements will do the honor.
On behalf of the board and the district, I would like to welcome the 21-22 new hires. Samantha Benson, Instructional Aide, Noon Duty Supervisor. Jabari Carr, Restorative Practices Specialist. Tiffany Sipineri, IT Technician 2. Lilia Davis, Food Service Worker. Christopher DeVelbis, Social Studies Teacher. Sonia Marie George, Instructional Aide. Annalise Lamb, Special Education Instructional Aide. Anna Moniz, Food Service Worker. And Trishana Wilson, Bilingual Instructional Aide. Welcome.
Thank you. Moving on to item 9, District Administrative Reports. Superintendent's Report. Dr. Nicholas.
Yes, I just have two things to cover here. First of all, we have our spelling bee, and it was a wonderful event, as always, a little modified because of our present circumstances, but I wanted to acknowledge the students who placed 4th through 1st place. And the finalists in these areas are going on to the county spelling bee. So in 4th place, in the category of grades 4 through 6, 4th place, Arash Naharari Hansen, Third place, Saharasara Bhimani Cordis. Second place, Agdat Dilip Hansen. And first place, Srivant Anasuri Cordis. So congratulations to those youngsters for their fine performance. And then finalists also moving forward is from grades 7 through 9. In fourth place, Isabella Fonteca from Mountain House High School. Third place, Clara Kerr from Lammersville Elementary. Second place, Eric Villanueva, Bethany. And in first place, Roheen Prashanth, Mountain House High School. So congratulations to our 8 finalists for their excellent work. I'd also like to thank Radhika Dinesh, who is the assistant principal at Bethany Elementary School, who was the lead on that. She did a fantastic job coordinating that event. So thank you to her. And then also, we are having our next vaccine clinic. What separates this one from the previous ones is that this is now open to students who are ages 5 through 11 with the emergency approval of the vaccines. So we do have some interesting feedback and some data for the board to just hear. We sent out the survey and we received 867 responses. Of that, 727 came from parents and or guardians, and 140 came from staff members, so that's an interesting balance. We had 98 staff members who would like to get their booster. Within the parent response, 472 said that they would like to have their students vaccinated. And so you had 260 families with 1 student, 120 families with 2 students, 8 families with 3 students, 4 families with 4 students, and 40 families with 5 students or more. And then for students ages 12 or older, 40 families with 1 student, 11 families with 2 students, 2 families with 4 students, and 28 families with 5 or more students. So that's a significant outreach for our booster or our vaccine program. We also had 34 families said that they weren't interested in a vaccine from the ages 5 through 11, and about 389 families who did not need to vaccinate their students with the ages 12 and older. So, Mr. President, that is my report.
Can I ask a quick question? Are we forwarding that data to the folks who are going to run the clinic to ensure they have enough vaccine on hand?
Director Busatil was working directly with Public Health and with Sutter Health, and they work all of that stuff, the details out, how to sign up, how to do walk-ons and stuff. I'd shout her out right now, but she's being a mom at a water polo match, so she's doing a good job on both ends.
Thank you.
Moving on to item B, district enrollment report.
Yes, so on Friday when we released this, we had 7,029 students. As of this morning, 7,044 students. This is a consistent kind of trend in the district that we have a big number in the summer. School starts, it drops, clean up the record, and then it precipitously goes up till about the winter break, and we are moving at a more rapid clip, a slightly more rapid clip than normal. Mr. Harrison is not nervous about those numbers and staffing whatsoever, and we haven't talked about it once, at least today or this afternoon. So
in the last 10 minutes.
We like the numbers coming in.
Sarcasm, I reckon.
Can't deal with it with the mask on.
Thank you. Item C, district maintenance and operations report. Mr. LeGrand.
How's everybody doing? Good evening. So I've had several meetings with our flooring vendor. We're already talking about summer projects. Today we walked Lammersville, a room at Lammersville, and the stage at Altamont. Next week we're going to walk the 2 wings at Bethany. We didn't finish the flooring a couple years ago. It's the 500 and the 600 wing, the 2 back wings. And we're going to look at the MP room floor again at Altamont, and we got to go back to the stage. We detected some moisture along the back wall, just below the baseboard, so we got to figure out what's going on with that. Last Friday I had a Zoom meeting with our energy manager. As you may recall, we got a 5-year energy manager. That funding has expired, so I had a Zoom meeting with them to talk about a possible another contract with them, another year, another 5 years, whatever we could work out. They're going to send me the info, and I'll review it with Thor, and we'll go from there. On Thursday, I was at the Facilities Committee meeting. There's a couple of you. Monday, the first was a professional development day. The direction from us for our staff was to finish their annual Keenan training. We also had a lead custodian meeting that day, talk about supplies, equipment, work orders, and we've added a leadership component to our meetings to develop their leadership skills. So, on Friday the 29th, Thor and I had our quarterly meeting with Jensen, with the VP of something for Jensen. It was a Zoom meeting to talk about their performance or performance issues. Update on projects. Solar. We continue to have our weekly meetings. We conducted site walks last Thursday of Altamont, Bethany, and Hanson. Hopefully all of you got a chance to drive by Altamont. The fencing went up on the 27th of October. The columns have already been poured. The steel posts have already been erected. The roof supports are already erected. They started putting the panels on today on the east side. They got maybe a quarter of them done today. Bethany, the fencing's up at Bethany. They're doing site mobilization this week, marking where all the utility lines are. They're going to start drilling holes at Bethany next week. They don't want to drill them too early because they're 32 inches in diameter and they're 15 feet deep. So they want to drill them and then form them and then pour them right away so they're not left open. There's 8 columns they have to put at Bethany. They'll do that next week. The following week, they'll start erecting the steel. Then at Hanson, the fencing's already up. They're doing site mobilization there this week, marking utilities, that kind of stuff. Next week, they're going to start drilling and pouring the posts there. There's 12 columns at Hanson that are going in. And then the following week, they'll start erecting the steel. The next site after that will be Wickland, and the fencing is going to go up on the 22nd. And then following that will be Cuesta. The fencing will start going up on the field on the 29th. So things are moving along. I forget to mention about Altamont. Once they get the panels up, we should be able to shrink the construction fence so they'll get half of their parking lot back. I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that. On the schedule, it was somewhere around mid-December, so there's a good possibility they can get it back sometime next week. So way earlier than we anticipated, so it's good news. Upcoming events, I have a meeting next Tuesday with a waterproofing specialist. We're having issues at Wickland with moisture coming in at the base of the MP room. Apparently it's been going on, from what I'm told, from staff since the building's been open, so it's quite a long time. Once in a while, we'll detect a little moisture behind the bleachers along the baseboard, and now we're starting to see some moisture in the back left corner around the custodial room. So I know that the district has tried things over the years. I know they capped off all the irrigation in the front of the multi-purpose years ago, took out the plants. Not really sure what's going on, but we're going to try to get to the bottom of it and get it fixed. So it's beyond our scope, so we're bringing someone in to look at it. So staffing update. Our district courier starts on the 1st. She's coming from food service, and Bernie is able to fill her spot, so she's coming over to us on the 1st of December. We had interviews for the night custodian position at Bethany yesterday. We selected a candidate, and they'll be moving through the hiring process. We had interviews for the lead custodian at Cordis on Friday the 29th. There were 4 internal candidates that we interviewed. One was selected, and we have to backfill their position now. That's kind of how it goes. We had interviews for the evening custodian position at the high school on the 26th. A candidate was selected, and she actually starts on Monday. She cleared really quick, so she's coming on Monday. And then, unfortunately, we had a resignation yesterday from the high school, so we're back to 1 step forward and 2 steps back. So now we have back to 2 openings at the high school. So, and that's it for my report. Happy to answer any questions.
At the Wickland site with the moisture that supposedly has been occurring since the building has been open, are we worried about any mold if there has been an issue?
No, this minimal water. Not worried about mold.
Okay.
No.
Okay, thank you.
It's when the rain comes a certain direction, the wind blows a certain way, it just kind of creeps its way into the building. But we do want to get it fixed. We don't want it to, be a problem. And apparently it's been going on for quite a while. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it. So.
Thank you.
I was at Altamont today, and I noticed or thought of something that I should have thought of when we first started talking about.
Before we put the post in?
Yes, but I understand that occasionally the wind might blow a little bit in Mountain House, and those big panels that go up look like huge sails, and I'm just hoping that they engineered them, excuse me, that they engineered them appropriately for the occasional winds that we get here in Mountain House.
We have been having ongoing battles with the geological people. Lammersville, we're still fighting with them about the footings on that one, but we just got Quest approved like last week, so it's been several back and forths about how to mitigate that type of thing with the wind and the soil and everything else. So, like I said, the footings are huge. They're 15 feet to the sides, plus the auger goes down another foot or so. So yes, that has been looked at.
Well, frankly, I'm not so worried about the footings being
Worry about the
pulled
top
up.
blowing off?
Yes, the top just
I see.
flopping over onto the.
The good news is that the power company owns those. If there is damage to the array, they are responsible for repairing it. So it's not on the district's dime. So it's their best interest to maintain it and make sure it works, is working properly and as efficiently as possible. So we just, as a district, just get to reap the benefits of it. So if a ball hits it or someone breaks or something breaks, it's on them to do that. So that's the beauty of this type of agreement.
Further questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, could I have just a quick second? Radhika Dinesh just came in a little late after we acknowledged her for a great job on the spelling bee, so just wanted to shout her out while she's sitting there since she came in after we gave her a compliment when she wasn't here.
No problem. Moving on to item 10, action items. Item A, consider approval of 2021-2022 inter and intra-district transfer requests. I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve the 2021-2022 inter and intra-district transfer requests.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Olson. Student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, consider approval of Governing Board Resolution 212204 to allow assignment of teacher credentialed outside of major or minor under the licensing of certification personnel law for the 2021-2022 school year. Staff report?
Yeah, that's a very complicated way of saying this is a waiver, but it's important in particular with electives at the middle school level, and in some instances, the rules are well intended, but sometimes they stymie the ability to provide learning experiences for kids. Approval of this allows us to expand what we do within the structures of the rules.
Thank you. Questions or comments by the board?
Move to approve Governing Board Resolution 21-22-04 to allow assignment of teachers credentialed outside of major or minor under the licensing of certificated personnel law for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
Thank you. On a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Boulay, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Roll call, please.
Lisa Boulay,
Aye.
Colin Clements,
Aye.
Benita Daniel,
Aye.
Stephanie Olson,
Aye.
David Pombo.
Aye. Item C, consider approval of Governing Board Resolution 212205 in support of Assembly Bill Number 75, Kindergarten Community College Public Education Facilities Bond Act of 2022. Staff report?
Yes, this is a very important resolution. It's it's one of the ways that school districts speak to this Sacramento politicians, in particular the governor in this case. Districts throughout the state are being asked to pass this resolution in support of a state construction bond. The last state construction bond, Prop 51, I believe it was $9 billion, has been doled out. All the money's been allocated or will be allocated as the bonds are sold. In a master plan community that's growing exponentially, we rely on state construction bond money to pay for approximately 25% of all K-8 school construction. We currently are waiting to get funded for the Cordis project, which we believe we will get the money sometime next year. And then we have 4 more K-8 schools to build. So this is an absolutely crucial ballot item coming forward in November of 2022, in which if the voters vote yes, there will be a $12 billion state construction bond, which should cover the cost for at least 2 or 3 of the schools that we need. So we strongly and emphatically recommend approval of this resolution.
Just a point of clarification, when you said that should cover those, you're not suggesting that those schools will cost that much money. You're suggesting that the timing is such that they would fall under that bond.
Our $12 billion school in neighborhood K is going to be extraordinary. No, it's our proportionality of the list. There are already $3 billion worth of projects that need funding from the $12 billion for this pass, so there's a backlog. Thank you for that clarification, sir.
Further questions or comments by the board?
Move to approve Governing Board Resolution 21-22-05 in support of Assembly Bill Number 75, Kindergarten through Community Colleges Public Education Facilities Bond Act of 2022.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Boulay and seconded by trustee Daniel, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Roll call, please.
Lisa Boulay,
Aye.
Colin Clements,
Aye.
Anita Daniel,
Aye.
Stephanie Olson,
Aye.
David Pombo.
Aye. Moving on to item D, consider approval of Measure L expenditure for the Wickland Parking Lot Expansion Project, not to exceed $250,000. Staff report?
Yes, our district and our community voted through Measure L to allocate funds, raise their taxes to support district facility projects. Most of that money went to supporting the completion of Mountain House High School and other big projects. There is still money left. We have a glaring need for a parking expansion project at Wickland Elementary School, the first Mountain House school. And the parking allotment is inadequate, and this $250,000 will go towards that project, which will be done by the same contractor that builds Costa School, so we can save money.
Questions or comments by the board?
I want to thank Dr. Nicholas for clarifying the map of the parking structure. It does have a strip of concrete going down the middle of it, and I thought that was a very inefficient place for a curb. Turns out it's just a drain that's flush with the pavement, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Move to approve Measure L expenditure for the Wickland Parking Lot Expansion Project not to exceed $250,000.
Second.
A motion by trustee Daniel and seconded by trustee Olson. Student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, consider approval of contracts for district solar project not to exceed $191,885. Staff report?
Yes, this is approval will be based on a reimbursement model. When you look at inspector of records and lab of record, there's a lot of rules and a lot of stuff that gets done that have to be done in order for inspections to be passed. This is the process that was agreed to in the contract, and we need to we will front this money and then reimburse it with board approval.
Questions or comments by the board?
I would just like to make sure that those who know that I go by Stephanie Wallace Olson on social media, that I have no connection to Wallace School and Associates. And with that, I'll move to approve contracts for district solar project not to exceed $191,885.
Second.
A motion by trustee Olson and seconded by trustee Boulay. Student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, consider approval to adopt updated board policy and administrative regulation 5126. Staff report?
Yes, so this update of these BP and ARs will allow for the accounting process for anyone that would like to start a scholarship within the district system. And so this is generally an umbrella and under which any scholarships that were to come forward with their own line item would be managed under, so it's under one line item, for lack of a better term.
Questions or comments?
As a point of clarification, so contributions to this fund, for lack of a better term right now, would be included in the consent items for consideration as a contribution and approved by the board and voted on by the board at that time? Did I get that right?
That is an excellent question. Consent is not, I believe that I need to come back with an answer for that. The consent would approve any contracts under $50,000. This would not be a contract. We could.
I'm
put
sorry, but when there is when there are donations, I was thinking of it
I'm
like
with you
a
now.
donation.
Yeah.
So would it be?
That would be a way to communicate to the board, correct?
Okay.
Yes, I was thinking you were thinking of it as a contract.
No.
Okay,
no.
gotcha. I'm on the same page.
I may have said but I meant up there with
Gotcha.
those items. Okay, sorry. With that, I will move to approve updated board policy and administrative reg 5126.
Second.
A motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Daniel. Student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, consider approval of tennis court agreement with Mountain House Community Services District from December 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2022. Staff report?
Yes, attached to the agenda is an agreement that would open the door to support community use of our tennis courts. This is an opportunity for the board to provide feedback on that and direct staff either to move forward or make some small adjustments at their discretion.
I have some questions and comments. My first comment has to do with the fact that the contract calls for the facility reservation software to be paid from the proceeds from renting the courts before we get them, and two things. I understood we were just going to get all the fees paid. And the second thing is, I feel like that reservation software should be something that the CSD handles on their end. We're already waiving all of our fees and everything else that we do. The second thing is, I feel like the contract needs to be clearly state that Mountain House High School and LUSD facility needs need to supersede any usage by MHCSD, regardless of what day of the week it is or whether it was on the calendar that the contract calls for on May 31st. And my third point is that I feel like there should be a clause in the agreement stating that either side can end the agreement, for instance, on 30 days' notice, whatever the timing is, for any reason, because if either side feels like it's not working, we shouldn't be stuck with something that's not working for the remainder of the contract.
Point of clarification, when you say Mountain House High School or LUSD kids, my understanding of what you're saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the section titled the tennis tournament was moved from Monday to Wednesday. If that were to be occurring at Mountain House High School and there was an event that was a community organized event on that date, they would be bumped and Mountain House High School section championships would be played.
Correct. And I believe that according to our facilities agreements with everybody, that's how it works.
Right.
But I feel like it should be stated in the language of this contract so that there's no confusion.
It says that we'll enforce the rules in the facility use policy handbook, and doesn't the policy handbook state that rule of priority?
Be that as it may, I like the idea of having it specifically in this contract.
in all the contracts that I deal with, if it's easier to resolve if it's specific.
And especially since the contract reads like the CSD controls Saturdays and Sundays. And there may be events, playoffs, whatever it may be, that the district needs that facility, and we shouldn't have to fight over our right to use it.
Are there any other board members who have any feedback?
Yeah, we had a discussion when this was brought to the board about something along the lines of limiting coaches who are making money from student tennis players and using our facilities and paying a nominal fee. And we said that it was a concern. We didn't have a solution, but I just feel, I do feel like if someone's making $100, $200 off of our facilities by coaching tennis and they're paying $3 or $5, I wonder if they should not be paying the market rate versus the CSD public rate.
I agree. I know we had that discussion at an earlier board meeting that we shouldn't be subsidizing business, and that's the whole facilities handbook is set up such that if you're a business, you pay the top rate. If you're a nonprofit or another government agency or whatever, you pay a lesser rate, and I think that should be reflected in the contract somehow. I don't know the exact verbiage or how it should be set up, but it should, anybody running a business there should fall under a different classification, I think.
So if I understand where we're at, the board is going to approve this plan with 4 amendments that both can get out. We want to make sure that's clearly delineated, that the software should be, the cost should be borne by the CSD and not by the district, since we've already waived other costs. That will be to clearly delineate that our kids can bump, and we'll figure out a way that we're not subsidizing businesses and there's not somebody who is absconding chunks of time. Again, that'll have to be policed by the CSD. This is their program. But also, the district reserves the right to come back and revisit this if there's an abuse that we didn't think about. And it's okay to come back and say, yeah, we got to clean this one up. Is that?
Well, since we're building in the right to cancel with 30 days notice, then worst case scenario, we say, okay,
we're going to cancel this and we'll try again.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do appreciate the CSD's time, though, in working with us on this, because I do think I think it's a value to our community to have the tennis courts open. I think what Central Park has to offer for tennis courts just isn't sufficient. And again, with Measure L, our communities are paying into the bond, our community members are paying into the bond, and I would like them to be able to have the opportunity to use the courts.
Yes, and I agree with that, and I appreciate our district staff. I believe it was Associate Superintendent Harrison who met with Mr. Pinkerton, or was it you, Dr. Nicholas?
Well, it was a group effort, but Mr. Harrison carried the water for the most part.
So I appreciate the time that was taken by our district staff just to negotiate this agreement, and the CSD's willingness to work with us, because I do think that we have an opportunity right now to share something with the community that benefits a lot of our students, actually, because all the tennis events I've been attending, and Trustee Daniel could attest to this as well, a lot of it's for the students. They're the ones that are taking the lessons and they're learning. And so, I mean, we just won our first section championship in tennis. I think that's going to be a tradition, and we'll be on the map for that for a long time because of this. And there's no other comments. I would really like the honor of making the motion to approve the tennis court agreement with the Mountain House Community Service District with 4 amendments. I don't know if I need to restate them.
As amended.
As amended.
Second.
Before we vote, I would just like to say that I hope the MHCSD and public don't think that anything we're doing here is in any way trying to throw a monkey wrench into this, because I believe we're all in favor of this use of the tennis courts at the high school. And I think it's a good partnership that we're getting into. My only concern is, as it always is with our facilities, my concern is that our students and their needs need to come first. And after that, then, the public can use our facilities.
Can I also just bring up one logistical concern, and that is, do we have at our tennis courts, does anybody know if there's like rules posted or signage, like no eating on the courts, no gum chewing, things like that? And do we need something like that?
That's a possibility that we would have to add those signs. I don't believe we have that. But that is the risk we take by entering these things. So obviously that's why I believe, speaking for President Pombo, if we get some knuckleheaded behavior, obviously we'll work with the CSD to try to resolve it. But if it can't be, that's why you have cancellation clauses.
Well, honestly, I think it's good for our high schoolers who use the courts as well, because there have been times that the tennis team is picking gum off the courts.
Yeah, and we don't rent them to anybody right now, so.
Right. So I do think it's a good reminder for everybody.
Students as well.
So I apologize, but I haven't gotten to speak yet. I do have a question on the software fees. Do we have, I apologize, I don't recall what I have no idea what the magnitude of that number is.
And I have no idea. My assumption would be that it's not a huge cost, but I believe the CSD already is working with somebody, because they're scheduling.
Yeah, I thought it was the same software. So I didn't think there was an incremental cost. My understanding was that there wasn't an incremental cost associated. That was what the beauty of this deal. So, asking them to bear it, I guess that's why I was taken aback. Was it was supposed to be no incremental cost? They were just using the same software. So, but I'm okay with that amendment, because if it's a really big number, then they need to bear it, and if it's a really small number, it doesn't really matter. So, either way, I'm okay. I would also like to say that I'm really glad and really thankful to district staff and CSD for working together. I'm grateful to the community for bringing this suggestion to us, because we tried the track and that didn't work, and so this is an opportunity to do something, and I would like to see it springboard into other things, or at least open the idea and kind of be a pilot, because I do think that to the extent we can make facilities available to the community and yet protect the assets that need to be here for students of the future, and B, protect the time value for the students today, so that they have the programs that, we built these schools and these facilities for these school programs. So, but if we can make it available without risking those two a priori issues, I really want to see us do it.
Yeah. No, and I think that this will give students more opportunity to practice, because there's only 3 courts at Central Park. It's difficult for them to get extra time other than their high school practices. And I truly, watching the community use the Central Park tennis courts, I truly believe that they're going to take good care of I think the tennis community is a very respectful community, one that they leave the courts clean, and I have a lot of faith in them, and I really, knock on wood, do not want to be disappointed, because I think this is a great thing, like you said.
Yeah, and we have a lot of tennis champions, upcoming tennis champions, youth kids, right? So I think this will definitely benefit them, but with Preston Pombo's ideas of the amendments, it makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you, and I apologize. I recall Trustee Olson made the motion, but Trustee Daniel, thank you. On a motion by Trustee Olson and seconded by Trustee Daniel, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11, discussion items. Item A, California State Accountability Growth Model. Staff report?
Yes, Assistant Superintendent Sherburne's going to give a very short presentation on some state data, but before she starts, I just want to say something that we like to point out when we have good numbers, and you're about to see some very good numbers about our district, in particular with a very nice balance of student subcategories based on ethnicity in comparison to the state average. And obviously not everything's perfect, but these are very good numbers. And we have consciously, as a board, giving direction to staff about with the concept of equity and access for kids. This is a pretty good place to start in terms of how our kids are doing within our system based on this accountability growth model. But I don't want to take any more time of Assistant Superintendent Sherburne's presentation, but I wanted to set that as a precursor to some good data.
Good evening, President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. Thanks so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here to talk about a new model that the state of California has come out with. Apologies, I can't. The California State Accountability Growth Model. So what is it? As you know, we receive score reports back on the percent of students who are reaching proficiency on the CASP assessment in ELA and math. Those scores have now been done because that's an achievement score aggregated for the district or at the student individual level that is static. It's a moment in time of what measure of achievement did that population achieve. The growth model is now looking at, regardless of where you're at, if you start above grade level, you should still grow a year or more over the course of a school year. If you're below grade level, of course we want to try and help catch you up, but you should at least grow a year so that you are no further behind in the course of a year. So this is a way of us measuring to look at across the state. The state can say, how are we doing with serving our students so that we have at least 1 year's growth in 1 year's time for individual students and for subpopulations of students, as well as all students as we're looking at it. So why did they develop this growth model? Well, 47 other states have a growth model already. So we became the 48th or 49th state actually in having a growth model, so that we're looking at it's not just about achievement and where you're at that single point in time, but it's about how you are growing over time as a learner. It can help districts look programmatically at what they're doing and seeing how that program is serving the district students overall, as well as how is that serving different subpopulations of students. So it can help us to really make decisions about equity, as Dr. Nicholas stated, AP, special education program, English learner programs, ethnicities, how are we, CTE, how are we doing in relation to all of that? So the state had to develop a very complicated algorithm for how they calculate the growth model, but essentially they look at all of the test scores of individual students across the state and they determine what is the amount of growth on a score that it would be the average growth a child should achieve in 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. Then they take all of those scores and they average them together and look at it and come up with this number. For an individual student, they compare, here's the expected number, here's the actual number, what's the difference, positive or negative? And then they do that for subpopulations and for students overall. Again, looking at, are you scoring right on the mark with average growth, or are you scoring above average growth or below average growth in any one of these populations that we're measuring? It takes 3 consecutive years of having test scores. So this is the 2017, 2018, 2019 student CASP data that was used in order to determine what is average typical growth, 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. We will not have data again until 2024 because we've had an interruption in state testing due to COVID situations right now. So they will be using 22, 23, and 24 school years in order to calculate averages again. So it'll be that point in time before we have another report of how districts across the state are faring in terms of serving their students in a growth model. Scores are available for 4th through 8th grade because 3rd grade they have not yet tested. So there's nothing to compare it for. That's their first year. And at the high school, they only tested 11th grade, so there's no 9th and 10th grade scores. So the state has published appropriate uses for it, essentially saying, and inappropriate uses, essentially saying that this is something you can look at programmatically. There are individual growth score results for students that we can look at to see, is a student making the growth that they should be? Again, if they're a high achiever, are they still making a year or more growth? If they're underachieving for some reason and have a learning disability, are we still doing our best to serve that 1 year's growth in 1 year's time, regardless of their static achievement level? We want to make sure students are growing. So looking at that programmatically would be an appropriate use. An inappropriate use would be to publicly announce that we were particularly doing well in one area or another, or to target schools or student populations and call them out in that way, because again, it is about progress over time. So this is what we look like. On this chart, you can see this is the subpopulations for Lammersville School District. The darker green is the English language arts bar graph, and the lighter green is math. The blue line along the bottom is at the 100-point marker. On the state accountability system, 100 would represent 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. So anything above 100 represents more than a year's growth. So you can see that by far the majority of those bars in both language arts and math are above, and in many cases well above, that 100-point marker of 1 year's growth in 1 year's time, indicating that our students overall across the majority of the subpopulations are achieving very well. The two blanks that are there, foster youth and Pacific Islander, we do not have a significant enough population in order to warrant a calculation by the state for those two. And then we have two subpopulations, homeless and students with disabilities, for whom we are not quite yet making an entire year's growth in 1 year's time. So in order to also give it some context, they're saying, so you're doing well. How does that look when we're looking across the state? So they've taken all of the school districts and what their averages are, and they have compiled those into decile rankings, 10 equal groupings, and they've said, what is your decile ranking? 1 being low, because you would only be performing in the bottom 10%, and 10 being high at the top. And you can see from this chart, 5 being in the middle, half the school districts or subpopulations in school districts are achieving lower, half are achieving higher, that we are in anywhere from the 7th to more often the 10th percentile band in all of our subpopulations and overall. We have one exception where we're right smack in the middle of average, and that's our homeless population. So while on this we're saying that we did not quite make 1 year's growth in 1 year's time, we are performing on average with all of the other districts that are there. And the other exception would be the Filipino population in the English language arts area, where even though they had been achieving well as a subpopulation, right on average, we are not performing as well as we would like to see in terms of ranking by deciles. They're still getting 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. And the last one was our students with disabilities. If we look at it again, they didn't meet that 100 line, but the students with disabilities are in the 8th and the 10th decile. So we are still far outperforming the average performance of working with students with disabilities. So it gives you two different ways of looking at it.
And if I could just point out, it's very rare to be able to say this, but in all of these decile rankings in math, we're 10s. So just take a minute. Of all the things you've heard about student test scores to student performance and math, it's never a good story. And at least in this measure, we're hitting the 10, which is the highest mark. The irony is not lost on the Asian population that it's a 7, in spite of the fact that historically it's been our highest performing subgroup. So data is what it is. It's a piece of information to take a look at and analyze. So though we're performing extraordinarily well, what does that number mean? And how can we improve it in each of these categories, obviously? And what does it say that we're doing well, and what can we do better? And so there are districts at times that can score really high and be missing a group of kids historically. What we've tried to do in this district for years, with the help of the team and the support of the board, is we don't miss anybody. I mean, you always miss something, but we try not to miss anybody so that we can produce numbers like this and improve on them, so that it's like, look how great our overall score is, and then we don't talk about the part that's not good. If we have a number that's not good, or a group that we haven't performed well with, then we address it as a group, as a team. So I thought you would enjoy this information. It makes our district look very good. It says the work that we've been doing is good, and we have some work to do, which is also good. It's always good to be striving to get better.
Questions?
I have a question on how you just talked about how we want to like track every area and not miss a group. Do you know why they don't track boys versus girls? I've been reading a lot of articles, and you know, the data seems to show that there's a drop year to year in college enrollment from boys.
Yeah, girls are outperforming boys.
And that they're way outperforming. Wouldn't that be a relevant data to track and help us help the boys maybe? Because I don't know, it just seems like an important element.
There are some indicators. It's not tracked that way on state achievement, but we do have the ability to look at several indicators in the male versus female role. And I have looked at it off and on occasion out of curiosity, and not really found anything statistically significant to say, oh, we better really dig in. I couldn't give you exact numbers, but it is something that I peruse on occasion.
Okay.
We also talk in terms of things like CTE. Do we have female students enrolled in engineering opportunities or certain computer classes versus the traditional male-female stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So it is on the radar.
Okay.
But the general trend is the girls are outperforming boys.
And then on the data where you talked about how the Asian students had the 7 and on that one. Yeah.
On the Decile Rankings.
Yeah, the one Decile ranking. Could that possibly be just because there's crossover, right? Some of the kids are English learners, and they get categorized as English learners and as Asian or whatever their race is, or is there no crossover on this data?
No, it is true, but it's also true across the entire state. So you're thinking everything is apples to apples. But looking at that 7, you still go back and you look at the Asian population, and you see that they're still achieving very well overall, far above 1 year's growth in 1 year's time.
Posting a 7 is something that most districts would be thrilled to do. We're posting all 10s in math. That's astronomically great. But so it's just a piece of information, right? So what does that really mean? And then we go out and say, are we missing anything? Generally, if you look at grade point average and all the other metrics out there, you take it all together and you take a look. We have a lot of conversations about it. We problem solve if we need to problem solve. We put something else in play. We ask if this is working or not working. And over time, we hope to continue to see a trend of we're not missing anybody. Because it would be a tragedy to be really good for everybody but 1 or 2 and say that's good enough, because it's not.
So these numbers are from 2017, 18, and 19, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So this data is already almost 2.5 years old.
Correct.
And did we just get the data, or have we had
Correct.
it? We just got it?
Mm-hmm.
So
this is a brand new model.
Okay. So I guess I'm wondering I'm wondering a lot of things, and so I just have to express what I'm wondering. How can we use the data if it is 2.5 years old, the 11th graders are already graduated and no longer in the system, the 4th through 8th graders are now 7th through 11th graders, and then there was a 1.5 years of COVID. So, yeah, so that's my comment, and I don't know where I'm going with it.
Well, there's the literal and the abstract, right? So literally, the data's old. But the data's old for the CASP when you get it too. Not as old, but it says that over that period of time, what you were doing produced this as a composite score to say, okay, so where are we at? Then you go back and take the data points you have now in real time, and you can compare them to it and say, are we seeing that this trend is going? We do MAP 3 times a year. So we can go back and take a look at MAP, compare it to this, and then poke it to the mid-year MAP that we do and say, okay, does it look like the trend line is going? There's lots of ways to take data points and cross-correlate things. But when you get numbers that show that what you were doing then can conceivably be better or worse right now, and you have other data points to compare it to, then you can see where you're going. Heather, did you want to add to that?
I was essentially going to say the same thing.
Hold on a second. Let's take a moment.
Wait, no, I had something to know.
What he said. No.
So the age, for lack of a better word, of the data notwithstanding, at least as it relates to this type of a roll-up, this is the most current information we have available. And so I mean, I think that the data, granted it's old, looks the results, right? The graphs look fantastic. Granted it's old, right? The reason why I like this is, okay, now we know where we were then. And that's a great starting point. If those numbers would have been worse, it's still old, but we would have more work to do. Now we still have work to do because we can always improve, but I just wanted to, look at, acknowledge the data as old as it is and say, wow, that's fantastic. Even though it's old, right? It's the newest information we have for this type of data, and it's fantastic. So great job. Like that looks fantastic to me. I can't wait to see the next opportunity we have for a roll-up, which is 2024.
Yeah. And to your point, the new data every year, because that's the intent, is that no one could have predicted as the state was working on a growth model that we would have had a pandemic in the middle of all of it.
Right.
That once the model is developed, then you'd have an annual release.
Right.
That annual release is always going to be looking at data from prior years farther back in time, but historically, because you're looking at a picture of growth over time. So you're never going to have in the moment data. But that's why it's important to remember that we're looking at it programmatically, so that when we're thinking about program, what this tells us is that our current program at that time was working. We know that we've been building on that program, and we know that when we look at these cross data sources, as Dr. Nicholas so eloquently said, that those scores are continuing to grow and match up. And so we can extrapolate that, therefore, we would expect to see on the next growth model that our growth continued or stayed at that same place. But by virtue, even when we're getting it every single year, we're always looking at old data because it's a measurement of growth.
So just to understand it clearly, so the in-the-moment growth is where we receive it from the map data, right?
Correct. And MAP data, we're looking at math benchmarks that are directly related to their instruction. We're looking at ELA benchmarks. We look at diagnostic reading assessment in the primary levels 3 times per year. So we have in the moment data that we're looking at even to measure program at the district. And then of course, teachers are looking at the most important in the moment data by what's going on day to day in their classroom.
Thank you. And I think Guru must also be helping with the.
Guru does help as well with looking at in the moment data. And so we, again, look at it from a programmatic perspective, but teachers would be looking at it at an individual student level and using it to drive instruction.
Thank you. I do have one more question. In comparison to this and the next graph, I saw that the American Indian and or Alaska Native is like blank in this, whereas they have some data in the earlier one. I mean, was that, I mean, did they kind of miss it?
I'm sorry, which one?
The American Indian or Alaska Native.
I don't think there's enough students to register.
American Indian or Alaska Native has data on this graph, and it didn't register on the second graph. So I don't know. I would have to look into that again.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Could I just, you mentioned, I was trying to understand again, like this came from the state, the state's directed districts to do this, is that correct?
No,
Or is it
no,
something
we
you
don't
opted
do
to
this. They provide it
They
to us.
provide it for a fee, or do they?
No.
Okay, so
It's always attached to some accountability and probably down the road some money, but right now it's just a warm fuzzy.
Right now, it's just a warm fuzzy, okay.
Well, and at some point, it will probably be a requirement of a state data dashboard.
Because it said, I saw it's like, what, don't use it for this, but
Well, having come from a different district, with complete opposite of us in a big urban system, the numbers come out there to the left of the thick line, and then the conversation is kind of a tale of woe, and people use it as a means for consequences and to redirect funding and to hold people accountable. I think that's the general message, which is this is an overall thing to create an analysis and a conversation versus use it as a tool to say you're good and you're bad.
Okay.
So now, even though these numbers on this chart right here are very good, are we starting to focus a little bit more on our homeless students and students with disabilities to see if we can help improve, even though we are above average or at least average in compared to other facilities?
The word starting to focus is where I would disagree with it, because we are continuing to focus. And when I looked at this, actually, we have put a lot of energy and effort focusing on looking at those populations and how we support them, and continuing to put efforts into it. So what it tells me is that those efforts, even while it's not enough, we want to continue to do it, it is bearing fruit in the fact that we are at average growth or above average growth in our homeless population, even though we didn't quite yet get 1 year's growth in 1 year's time on the ELA indicator. They have extraordinary challenges, but it tells us programmatically that the work that we've been putting in already is paying off, and we just need to continue doing that.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to use the term start.
That's all right. I
think
just wanted to
meant
clarify.
Increase our support if we could.
Sure.
It was a better term.
It is
I
a
almost
constant
said, oh wait,
focus.
let me take a stab at the response. I knew you were going to speak to it.
Mr. President, can I just point out that we just had a 10-minute long conversation about student data, success rates, opportunities to grow as a district, and we didn't mention public health once.
Oh, that's crazy.
That is indeed interesting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item B, board workshop, staff report.
Yes, the board has asked me to work on putting together some dates for a board workshop. Some were submitted as a starting point of a conversation. The holiday season is coming upon us, so the dates that were presented or other dates that the board might come up with. I want to remind the board that we will be at CSBA conference on December 1st through 4th, so a workshop would not be tenable on that week. So we would be looking at probably a 3-hour long workshop facilitated by myself. When we can get everybody together, whether it's during a work day, a work evening, or on a weekend. I'm going to predict, though, that some people are busy in December and weekends might be challenged.
I will start out by saying that I am having a minor surgery on the 22nd, so I probably wouldn't be available for any of the times indicated on that day. The 23rd, I'm fine for any of the indicated times for the 23rd.
And I'm
Actually-
the opposite of you. I could do the 22nd or the 8th, but I cannot do the 23rd of November or any other day that week.
On the 8th, we have a wellness committee meeting at 3:30 and then a board meeting in the evening. So the only potential on the 8th would be 10 o'clock. Oh, it's on the 15th?
Yeah, it's on the 15th.
Oh,
Yeah.
my bad.
I can be available on December 8th at 10 and also on 23rd at 10 a.m.
I can't, the week of the 19th I'm on vacation out of the country.
Of November.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is November?
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. I thought we were talking about,
I don't think that November will
Board
work though, because David and I have conflicting days.
okay. So December 8th is better for me.
Yeah.
Can everyone do December 8th?
Yes.
10 a.m., please.
Can everyone do December 8th at 10 a.m.?
Let me look and make sure on my work calendar here.
The 1 o'clock wouldn't work that day because we do have a wellness committee meeting that day.
Yes, 10 a.m. would work best for me also.
10 a.m. would work.
I can do 10 a.m. on December 8th.
So what I hear is December 8th at 10 a.m. We'll probably do it at the Professional Development Center. Maybe we'll figure out how to get the walls down just so you can watch them go up and down as warm-up activity. I've never actually seen them go down. I've seen them down, but I've never seen the mechanics, so that might be exciting.
All right, so December 8th at 10 a.m., and you said about 3 hours, so 10 to 1.
And we'll probably put together a lunch, something or other.
All right. Sorry, I'm slow. I'm just trying to put it in my calendar before I forget we talked about it. All right. Moving on to calendar. Thursday, November 11th is Veterans Day holiday, which is tomorrow. The district facilities are closed. Thursday, November 18th is the COVID vaccine clinic from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the small gym at the high school. Monday through Friday, December 22nd through 26th is fall break and district facilities will be closed. Wednesday, December 8th is the Wellness Committee at 3:30 and it will be virtual. Thursday, December 9th will be the follow-up COVID vaccine clinic from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the small gym at the high school. Wednesday, December 15th is at 3:30 p.m. is the Safety Committee meeting in the Professional Development Center. Wednesday, December 15th is the District Advisory Committee meeting at 6 p.m., followed by the next regular board meeting at 7 p.m. So I'm guessing the District Advisory Committee meeting will be somewhat short, or they'll run over. In just a moment, we will be adjourning to closed session where we will discuss public employee discipline, dismissal, release, and complaint, Government Code 54957, student discipline and other confidential matters, Education Code sections 35146, 48900, and 912B, Pupil Personnel Education Code 48918, conference with labor negotiators, Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with real property negotiators, Government Code 54956.8, and conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9. Do I have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Clements and seconded by Trustee Boulay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I should have asked for student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. We are now adjourned. Thank you all for coming this evening. Have a good We're resuming open session at 10:48 PM. The board took action on a motion by Trustee Clements and seconded by Trustee Boulay to deny the staff recommendation for a suspended expulsion of student 212204 for violation of Board Policy 5131, Board Policy 5131.7, and Education Code 48900B for the remainder of the fall 2021-22 semester by the following vote. 4 ayes, 1 nay. Trustee Daniel was the nay. Closed session item, expulsion of student 202105. Board took action on a motion by Trustee Clements and seconded by Trustee Olson to approve staff recommendation for expulsion of student 202105 for a violation of Board Policy 5131, Board Policy 5144, Administrative Regulation 5144, Education Code 48900.4, Education Code 48900.7 for the spring 2020, 2021, and fall 2021, 2022 trimesters by the following vote, 5 ayes. Student expulsion 192005. The board took action on a motion by Trustee Clements and seconded by Trustee Daniel to approve staff recommendation for student readmission after expulsion of student 192005 for the 2021-2022 school year by the following vote, 5 ayes. Do I have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now adjourned. Thank you all.